How do you say the race is a toss-up with Kamala losing or on the brink of losing Pennsylvania? Because that's everything. If Trump wins Pennsylvania, 96% chance he makes it back to the White House. So you just did a huge poll. You're just out of the field now. I saw the sample. I think the sample size was over 3,000 people or something.
And it's actually technically bigger than that. We rebased it, and it's been going on for a long time. So technically, it is bigger. The fact is, we watched it, and we're going to show people a little trend chart that we really think that's going to be productive and helpful to understand how this race went and the response bias that we saw. You'll see it like live, right? So clear, you'll see it. The bottom line is this thing moved maybe 2 points in her direction, really. And they, was bobbing between Trump +1. The biggest lead she had was like around 2 points, a little over 2, and it's gone now. And actually, if I could show you, let me see if I can pull it up.
So good, just so everyone's tracking a good sample size. You want to be at a minimum. I mean, people have said for years 1,000, but now people kind of say 1,500 is probably better.
And
but
honestly, we're at 3. We're at 3. Like that is the minimum, and
the more people you have, the more quote the more accurate theoretically a poll should be. So that's why when you see a public poll with a sample size of 400, like take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is we can see the distortion in the data at 1,000 responses. Stupid. And you're going to get these people who are willing to take these polls that are going to fill up what are, really your quotas, right? You need to talk to X number of people that have college degrees or don't have college degrees, right? This is what, and this is
zoom this in as much as you can.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so this is an interesting dynamic, and I was just working on variables to make it, locals knows what I'm talking about, to make it clean and to make it easy to for people to see. Right now, we just have the presidential race up there. I was just about to add the generic ballot. Let me just see real quick because I could add that. Yeah, okay. So let me add that real quick, and I'll restart it so I can put this in with the rows. There's race division, a couple of things that I thought it was important for people to see right away, which was certain demographics. We asked about issues, who do people trust more? Where's the generic? There's the generic ballot with leaners. Let's go ahead and get rid of the undecideds because you got to get rid of the undecideds for leaners. Sorry, I'm like kind of doing this live. Okay, it wants me to save the cross tab. All right, now we're going to change the calculations real quick. Bear with me, guys. We're going to get valid cases. Ooh, it won't let me scroll. Okay, I'll have to zoom out real quick. Bear with me, guys. Okay, sample size tops, right? Mentions, and then a percentage of the sample size. We want to do that. And it's as you probably just saw, it's rebased it. We spoke to a lot more people than this over time. And I always tell people, don't use the incorrect terminology. Oversampling and overrepresentation is not the same thing, and those terms are not interchangeable. So a lot of people say they oversampled Democrats. They oversampled this group. That's not what you mean. You mean they're overrepresented in the poll. We oversample groups all the time. And by the way, African Americans were way too much of the raw sample, and we wanted them to be because I was very curious about whether or not African-American men were still supporting Trump at the rate that they were before Biden dropped out and Kamala Harris was replaced. African-American women have in good measure gone back to Kamala Harris, okay? But not men, okay? So just to keep that in mind, men, especially driven by men who are 45 and under, have not gone back to Harris. They still support Trump at like these ridiculous rates that I never thought I would see. So he still is getting 19% of the black vote. Now, that's down from some of the numbers you and I were talking about against Biden that were just kind of crazy. And I would tell you, Sean, I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think he's going to do much, much better with the black vote. If you look at just the initial before we lean anyone, they're both about at 46%. She's got a few more interviews with him than him, 46.4 to 45.8. By the way, even if that was the final margin, folks, that's a loss for her. And I'm going to show you why. All right. Harris versus Trump with leaner. These are the leaners. This is how people are breaking. So undecideds are breaking to Trump 54.3 to 45.7. All right. And then Harris versus Trump with leaners together is like split dead even 50-50. He's got one more interview than her. All right. Which is really insane. And then the generic ballot is Democrat +1 and with leaners. okay, with leaners. Eventually, this someone else third party will shrink as we get closer to the election. But it's D+1. I know that's within the margin, and I know that's a marginal lead, but still, with the seats that are vulnerable for Republicans, you really don't want to see them running this far behind Donald Trump. Again, that's with leaners. Trump is running almost 5 points ahead of them in the initial ask. And then with leaners, he's running 4 points ahead of them. That's bad. I mean, the presidential candidate is at 50%, and they are at 46. That's pathetic. Honestly, it is. I'm just being real.
Explain that. What is that?
Yeah. So this is the generic ballot. Who are you going to vote for in your district? The Republican or the Democratic candidate? With leaners combined, there's a good deal of third party, someone else, and that's going to shrink as we get closer to the election. If you look at who these people are, the one good piece of news for Republicans is that that's a lot of Trump voters who are throwing their vote away right now and saying, I don't want to vote for the Republican. I don't. So they're running, before you lean people, the generic Republican is running 5 points behind Donald Trump. When you lean them, they're still running 4 points behind Donald Trump. And the presidential candidate is at 50% because they're split dead even. I haven't polled a race like that in a long time, brother. In a long time.
So what do you make of it?
Well, I think at the end of the day, if Trump is in the 40s with Hispanics and he's at 22% among blacks, the way he is here, we know he's going to poll. We know he's going to perform stronger than he's going to poll among whites. This is a loss for her. And bear with me, and I'm going to show you why. First, let's go to region, which there's more specific, but let's go to region first. Northeast, Midwest, Southwest, which were much more granular than others. I can show you division and elsewhere. When you have before leaners, just asking straight up, you can see she's ahead in the Northeast, of course, but the Northeast encompasses New England and the Mid-Atlantic. The Mid-Atlantic is New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, okay? That's important. Just bear with me. The Northeast should be much more liberal than this, and that's because she's doing good. In New England, she's romping it. However, it's not as strong as like Biden was in 2020. So that's when you have to start worrying. Maybe Maine is going to be closer than she would like. New Hampshire, I am always skeptical of that state. I am. It's so educated and liberal now. I'm skeptical of it. However, Maine, and maybe he's doing a little bit stronger in New Hampshire than they think. You know, in the South, he has a lead, and there's things happening with the South. You cannot rely on it, being so Republican forever. Republicans better start reaching out to different groups of people the way that Trump is able to do, because they're not doing as well as you would think they are. I mean, they were ahead by 6 points in the South. That's disgusting, whereas he's got an 8-point lead when leaned. Actually, no, I'm sorry, 8 points and then 10 points when leaned. So the Midwest is where it comes down to, folks. This is what I mean. I'm not only concerned about this, but I am, of course, extremely concerned about where the Midwest is. Trump initially is leading 49-44. She does win the leaners about at a 60-40 break, which is odd. You can tell right here that aside from the Northeast, Trump is winning the leaners at every other region. So it may be some noise here. We're only talking about a difference of 9 interviews. It may be overstated. But Trump and Biden, depending on how you look at, Trump basically carried the Midwest in Edison research by like 2 polls in those the National Exit Poll Consortium. And then the voter validated surveys actually show that Biden carried the Midwest by a few points. It really is that close. You can tell here that Trump is leading in the Midwest, and that is a major problem.
How can you tell? How can you tell?
Well, by region, he is ahead in the Midwest. But then when you break it down by census division, which we do, and we go even further than that, but when you break it down by census division, New England, she's got a margin like you would expect her to have in New England. The Mid-Atlantic should be bigger because it's New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania.
What are the margins in these 2 respective regions?
Yeah, so she's winning New England 64-36, which is she's winning it 53-40, and then winning the leaner 64-36. So she's ahead altogether by about 14, I think, in New England. Yeah, I mean, it's very close. To what it should be. And actually, it's not that much. It's 57-43. Sorry, my eyes. But in the Middle Atlantic, and this is how you know she's ahead in the Rust Belt. Okay. He's ahead. I'm sorry. I don't want to misspeak. This is how you know Trump is ahead in the Rust Belt. In the middle Atlantic, which is New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, her lead is only 54-46. Ladies and gentlemen, the mid-Atlantic, the population, obviously, between New York and New Jersey, you would expect those are blue states.
Yep.
We knew they were closer. So if New York and New Jersey are not bringing her margin up higher, what does Pennsylvania look like? Okay, because those are the three states that make up that region. Obviously, it's leaning to Trump. And then between the other the other areas that what we call the Rust Belt, East, North, Central, obviously, is Trump 51. He's ahead. It's very close, but he's ahead by about a point and a half. It's rounded. It's like a point. I know rounding works funny when you have this close of a race. West, North, Central is an even bigger problem for her. He's ahead 55-45. I mean, when you take those three regions together, Sean, he's ahead. That's it. And in an area like Pennsylvania, is that Trumpy right now, then you would expect West, North, Central, because we're talking about other states like Ohio and Iowa to be much more pro-Trump. And then the battleground of it all, where we're looking at like Michigan, he's got it like he's got a lead. So it's not a huge lead, it's closer, but it is a lead. And she has to run through these states to win. She has to. And there's some very, really other, important stuff. Race is just a huge demographic for me, and age, of course. Like, she's not gotten back all of these young voters. She's gotten back a subgroup of them. And, it's just not enough. It's not enough. But when we break this down again by these divisions, this is problematic for her. It really is problematic for her. She's not even that far ahead in the Pacific for a Democrat, but it explains to me why she erased his like kind of ridiculous polling lead. And even though he's still the favorite, in my mind, because she made some of those margins in like New York and California go back to what are traditionally what you would expect from Democratic margins, right? Hillary Clinton's entire 2+ point popular vote edge could be explained away by Los Angeles and New York. Really, it can. It's not quite there yet, which is why Trump is still 50-50 with her, but it is not enough. It's not. Biden needed, I think there's an argument to be made that she doesn't need Biden's margin, but damn, man, does she need every bit of 3.5%? 3.5. She's not getting it right now. She's not getting it.
That is, that's crazy. I mean, and I think, people like seeing how all of this works behind the scenes. I think, hearing the explanation, seeing the depth at which you approach this polling. I mean, I tell people that you're the best in the business for a reason, and I think it helps to see this, So how can people best support you, support Big Data Poll, whatever else you got going on, Rich?
I mean, the best thing they can do, Sean, is always follow us on Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com. And from there, you can learn all about the public polling project. People can see the little thing. It'll say, click, support our polls, and little hands in the air, little polling graphic. Click on it. Go check out the public polling project. Contribute if you can, because it is public. It's a publicly funded project, and it's crowdfunded, and of course, sharing it is always very helpful. I mean, share it far and wide. The bigger the base of contributors, the easier of a burden it is to everybody who gives to it, so that's the best way to do it, brother. And Locals, of course, sign up to Locals, be a member even, just it's a great way to stay up to date on when we're releasing them, because Locals will get all this first.
That's the way to do it. You should definitely support. Follow, subscribe to People's Pundit on Rumble. Watch his show, Inside the Numbers. Follow, become a member on Locals. Support all of your polling product, Big Data Poll. Check that out as well.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest.
To get your free definitive gold guide and get started learning more about investing in gold and protecting your retirement from uncertain times, visit treasureandtrust.com now. Fill out the basic contact form and a member of the team will be in touch. Again, that's treasureandtrust.com or call 855-625-7760.